This is the number one mistake people make when they're trying to build a brand. They make themselves the hero of the story. There are some rules about that.
Mr. Donald Miller, he has actually helped millions of people just like you get the right message, increase sales, and you want to pay attention.
30% of the time that you're walking around, you're daydreaming. The only thing that can stop you from daydreaming, known to man, is story. That story can be represented in 5 sound bites for your brand. I began to sort of workshop that with small business owners, and they would see 50 to 100% increase in revenue. And then from there, it was people running for president. Every product you've ever purchased, you purchased because it enhanced your opportunity to survive. I'll give you an example of 3 words that may have already made somebody $100 million.
Okay, Mr. Miller. So first question I have for you that probably everybody's wanting to know is, how did this all start? How did you become the story guy? What happened?
Well, the best things happen by accident, right?
True.
I was very intentional early on about becoming a writer, and I moved to, I lived in Texas, and I moved to Portland, Oregon when I was 21, and spent about 20 years writing memoirs.
Okay.
Stories about my trip across America, things like that. And I wrote about 7 of them. They did really, really well. And the publisher wanted an 8th, and I just thought, well, if you write your 8th memoir, you're a clinical narcissist. And so I decided not to write the 8th memoir. And I had been studying story and story structure because one of my books got turned into a movie.
Who did you study that from? Like, it's not every day that a kid like grows up and like, I want to study story.
Well, it didn't start that way. It started because some filmmakers came to Portland and said, we want to turn your book into a movie. And will you write the screenplay with us? And I'd never written a screenplay. So I ended up studying under Robert McKee, who is probably the greatest living story scholar.
And where's he out of?
Oh, gosh, I think he lives in California.
Okay.
But he does workshops everywhere.
Does it like stories for movies, like anything?
Exactly. So anybody who wants to write a screenplay or has written a screenplay has been to a Robert McKee seminar.
I see. Okay.
He's the lead guy. Okay. And then there's another guy named Blake Snyder who also teaches you how to do that. And then my favorite is a guy out of the UK called Christopher Booker. And he wrote a book called The 7 Basic Plots. It took him 34 years to write this book. And he's a genius. And so I just got indoctrinated into how to tell stories. Okay. And what that did for me was we wrote a screenplay, but it also made my books a lot better. It made them more interesting. And then I got a call from a company, Accenture, and they said, Don, we know you deal a lot in stories. We need a project management curriculum because at the time, Continental Airlines was merging with United, and they needed to be able to sort of structure some of the projects around narrative structures, big, complicated, geeky thing. So I did that for them, and it was successful. And then I realized, I'd love to write a book about how story structure can be used to filter a marketing or sales message for a company.
Yeah, because that's completely different than like not necessarily a screenplay. Basically, you're selling the movie, you're selling people to watch the show, right? To stay engaged.
Yeah,
right?
the thing is, the human brain daydreams 30% of the time. 30% of the time that you're walking around, you're daydreaming.
Yeah.
And when you're daydreaming, what your brain is actually saying is, there's nothing happening right now that I need to pay attention to because there's no threat against my survival and there's no opportunity to enhance my survival. Therefore, your brain shuts down. You really only pay attention to things that help you survive. The only thing that can stop you from daydreaming, known to man, is story.
Okay.
So if you sit down and watch a movie, you pay attention the whole time. If I were to tell you, my cousin and I tried to jump across the Grand Canyon on our motorcycles yesterday, you won't believe it. Everybody starts paying attention because I started a story.
Yeah, because you're visually almost seeing that, right? You're visually seeing that image.
You're visually seeing it, and you're opening a story loop. It's basically like a puzzle. Every story works like a puzzle. So you want to know the answer. That, a man meets a woman in a coffee shop. It's a meet cute. They are clearly falling in love. She gets up. She says, wait, I can't even have this conversation. It's very inappropriate. She walks out. He doesn't have her phone number, doesn't know her name. We just started a movie. Now, what's the obligatory scene? This man and this woman have to get back together.
So everybody keeps watching it because they have to finish the puzzle.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And so in order to tell a good story, you have to keep opening and closing story loops. And that is the key to getting anybody's attention.
So how did you go from that to like, I can use this for marketing, I can use this for sales? Because the psychology is the same, right? The human behavior. How did you go from like, I'm writing these books to now like companies, or like, I can do this for companies to help them brand themselves better, to sell more?
I never intended to do that. I had my assistant, when I was writing his memoirs, said to me, Don, you're getting a ton of emails. People want to meet and want to talk. Can I host a conference for you and you come and speak?
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be really great. And so I showed up at this conference that she had emailed people, and there weren't a lot of people in the room. And so I thought, well, I need to actually describe this conference better.
Okay.
Maybe I can use some of this story structure stuff to do it.
Right.
And so I created the StoryBrand Framework. It wasn't called the StoryBrand Framework, but I created it, and I filtered my marketing message through that framework. And immediately we went from a 50% capacity to 100% capacity. And then we had to go to bigger and bigger theaters. And I realized, wait a second, this framework that helps me create sound bites that get people interested is probably very valuable. And so I began to sort of workshop that with small business owners.
Okay.
And we would notice that they would do the same thing I did, and they would see 50 to 100% increase in revenue.
I see.
And then from there, it was people running for president, and it
Okay.
was national security, and
Okay.
it was Ford Lincoln and Procter and Gamble.
So-
So all of those people helped me understand, oh, there's something here that's really powerful.
So you open the loop, right? You have to close the loop in their brains, so you keep them engaged. What do you like? What parts, like, break down? Because you have this book. Let's talk about your book. So you've got I think what's it called? The best-selling book. It's now
Building a
2.0.
Story Brand.
Building a Story Brand
Yeah.
2.0 version.
Yes.
That just came out
Yeah.
a while ago, right? So like, what are like, the steps in that story besides open and close the loop? There's a lot that goes on in the middle of that before that
Yeah.
happens. So walk us through maybe that process.
Well, there's I think that if you're running a small business, or if you're a salesperson and you're trying to close a sale,
Sure.
you need to invite the customer that you're talking to into a story. And there are some rules about that. They need to be the hero of the story, and you need to be the guide helping the hero win.
You're like a facilitator.
Yes, this is the number one mistake people make when they're trying to build a brand. They make themselves the hero of the story. And if you don't want to do that for two reasons. If I am the hero of the story and you are the hero of a story, we are in separate stories. So you've just separated yourself from my story.
Give us an example. This is a really good point that I want everybody, here to listen to and to watch, everybody at home. A lot of salespeople do that. A lot of companies do that, where they're more focused on them. Give us an example of like a huge mistake that a lot of brands do. They just don't realize they're not making it about this individual that sees an ad being the hero. They're making it more about themselves. Like, give us an example.
You see it everywhere.
Where do you see that?
I got a call from a buddy, Pierce Bush, and Pierce said, my uncle's running for president. Can you go down to Miami? Because I think he's making a lot of mistakes. He was running against Donald Trump at the time. Trump was...
Michael Bloomberg?
No, this would have been Jeb Bush.
Oh, Jeb Bush. Okay, gotcha.
So
Okay.
Trump was running for president. He was beating Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush was the front runner. He was the favorite to win. He had $112 million in the Right to Rise Super PAC. He had all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And his tagline was, Jeb can fix it. Okay, so
Yeah, that makes sense.
So who's the hero of the story?
Jeb.
Jeb.
Yeah.
So if I'm voting for somebody for president,
Yeah.
and your offer is Jeb can fix it,
Yeah.
you've made two mistakes.
Or Ted Cruz, trust Ted. Or Ted, you can trust Ted. Same. I still remember the brands. I still remember these. Yeah. That makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just terrible. And by the way, what do we call these people? Losers. So So Jeb can fix it. He's made two mistakes in 4 words. He made himself the hero, and he created an elusive offer.
Yeah.
So you never want to be the hero because you've removed yourself from my story. But the other thing that you do when you play the hero is you position yourself as a weak character. Heroes are weak characters in stories. There are 2 weak characters in stories, the hero and the victim. Heroes are unwilling to take action. They don't know what to do. They're in desperate need of help. Why would you ever position yourself as the hero?
That's valid.
Right? Also, when we're looking for somebody to be president, and by the way, I've worked in the Obama administration,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah,
not a
you're-
Republican or a Democrat.
well,
This is not a partisan
look at
conversation.
the same thing. Current President Trump, make America great again. He
It's
didn't
an
make it
offer.
about him. It's making an offer.
It's
yeah.
not about him,
Yeah.
and it's about the people. It's about here's what you get. You get a great country.
Yeah.
What do you get if you vote for Jeb? You get it.
Hey guys, Jeremy Miner here. A lot of you guys keep asking me really good questions in the comments on how to sell more. So the easiest way to actually get a hold of me is to actually text me way faster. So 480-418-6755. So text me at 480-418-6755, because here's the deal. I started this sales training company to help you finally master sales and persuasion once and for all, which is I know what you want to do. So text me and then let's get back to the show.
Yeah.
If I'm at a cocktail party and you say, Don, what do you do? And I say, well, I fix it.
Yeah.
You have no idea what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So how these people make these mistakes is beyond me.
Yeah.
But it cost him the election.
Sure.
And so he was at 3% in the polls. By the way, when we left his office, he took that off of every bus and billboard, and it was no longer his tagline. And within 6 weeks in South Carolina, he was up to 12%.
Okay.
So if he would have started that early, I think he would have had a better chance.
What if you shift his tagline to? What did you guys help shift?
I can't remember
what
what they
it was.
came up with, but they stopped using Jeb Can Fix It.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump. She made the exact same mistake. Her tagline was, I'm with her.
She made herself
She's the hero. And with her doing what? Just driving around in a minivan? What are we doing?
And what was President Obama's? Was it like Hope and Change?
Hope and Change, but he was
or-
also up against Bob Dole, who was terrible.
Yeah.
And John McCain was also terrible.
Valid,
So a bad tagline can win if your opponent is worse.
So true.
And so he skated by on that one. But so the ramifications of this are serious. They're very, very serious. And if people can't figure out what you can do for them in a very short period of time, they are not going to buy from you. So there's 5. I look at a messaging campaign the way I would look at a house, and let me explain. If you come to Nashville where I live and you stand in front of my house, you're going to see 3 things. There are steps. There's 5 front steps that go up to my front porch. Then there's a front porch, and then there's a front door. And when I think about a messaging campaign, I think of it in those 3 phases.
Okay.
The 5 front steps are 5 sound bites that every company needs, and I'll explain those in a second. I call them survival sound bites. They are sound bites that associate my product with your survival.
Okay.
Because that's the only thing anybody purchases. They purchase survival. Every product you've ever purchased, you purchased because it enhanced your opportunity to survive.
So would an example be like, could you structure like some tagline, whatever that is, and then this is for you and then you list problem A, problem B, problem C, consequence?
No.
Could that be part of it? Or how would you design that?
Well, I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
My framework is every story is about a hero who's at peace, who falls into a hole. Guide comes along, throws a rope into the hole, climbs out of the hole, and he's back at peace. That's every story you've ever seen, is that exact formula.
So let me guess, the guide throws the rope.
The
in
guide
hole
throws
to
the
pull
rope in the
hero
hole.
up. Okay.
So that story can be represented in 5 sound bites for
Makes
your
sense.
brand.
Yeah.
They happen to spell out the acronym is P.E.A.C.E, P-E.A.C.E, to get your customer to return to a stabilized peace. So the P stands for problem, the E stands for empathy, the A stands for answer, the C stands for change, and the E stands for end result. You need sound bites that define the customer's problem, empathize compassionately with the customer's problem, offer your product as an answer to their problem, illustrate the change that they will experience if they use your product, and then give them a vision for the end result, the climactic scene. Let me give you an example. There's an app called You Need a Budget. It's on the Apple App Store. Are you familiar with this app?
I've heard that budget, or that app, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a 50 million.
I think they have ads on TV, don't they?
Probably.
I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah, they make $50 million a year
Okay.
selling this app. So they all just came to Nashville, the whole leadership team. And what I noticed, the very first thing I noticed as I looked at their brand is they had a front porch they had a front door, and they had no front steps.
Okay.
So if I build a house that's 8 feet off the ground and there's no front steps, is that an inviting house?
Probably not. No.
Is it a warm house?
No.
Are kids going to climb
Too
the
far
steps
out
to go
reach.
trick-or-treating?
Looks scary.
Yeah, it's, in other words, metaphorically, you have no way of introducing people to your business, and you're lucky to even be in business. And this is what I see with most companies. So they need these front steps in order to make the business more inviting. So what we came up with was a problem soundbite, and the soundbite that we came up with was, "Have you ever worried about money?" Now, if Todd Curtis is the CEO of YNAB, if he's at a cocktail party and somebody says, "What do you do?" He has a couple choices. He can say, "Well, I'm the CEO of an app company called YNAB," or he can say, "Well, let me explain. Have you ever worried about money?"
Sure.
Do you see the
So
difference in that conversation?
It causes your brain to have to focus on the question.
Well, now there's a if you're in business and you want to sell something or you want to grow your business, the number one thing that will help you grow your business is to own a problem.
Sure.
Own it. When somebody thinks of that problem, they think of you.
People come to us because of list the problem type of thing.
Yeah. Anybody
companies
struggling with X should call me.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm
This
a dog,
is for you if you have problem A, problem B, problem C, and you're worried about consequence.
Well, I
different
wouldn't do
structure.
problem A, problem B, problem C, because the more problems you illustrate, the less effective your messaging is.
Okay, so keep it tight. The main big
You can be
problem.
known for one problem. You cannot
Okay.
be known for two.
That's good.
Yeah, so you need to own a single problem. Let me give you an example. The Aura Ring. You familiar with the Aura Ring? It's like the Fitbit for your finger, right? That thing, I had one for a while. It does some amazing things, a lot of amazing things. But they started selling way more Aura Rings when they stopped talking about all the problems it solved.
Sure.
They only talked about sleep.
Okay.
And they decided, you know what? This thing solves 25 problems, but nobody can get their head around that.
So you want to focus on the main problem that's going to resonate with
You
the
honestly,
most
you want to
people.
focus on the problem that gets the biggest response.
Or it could be to certain avatars. You're going to focus on a different problem.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So YNAB, if they say, "Have you ever worried about money?" Every human being is worried about money.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. And then, so that's the problem. And then the next soundbite is E. We know how it feels to worry about money.
Empathy.
You want to empathize with the customer's problem. That immediately positions you psychologically as the guide in the hero's life. Now, I've just become your Yoda.
Okay.
And we did it in 6 seconds.
Interesting.
You now see yourself as a hero in a story, in a hole, and I'm leaning over the hole going, "I wish you weren't in that hole."
So it's kind of like a shortened, condensed version of what a lot of people call like a hero's journey, but you're not really the hero. You're basically coming to, like, if people look at you as the hero, let's say you're on stage or something, you've got a big brand, they look at you as the hero, it's like you have to first come down to their level so they can identify with you. Like, you know, like you're like one of them, used to be in the same situation, but this is what I learned.
Yeah.
This is what I did. And
You
now it's
never
different.
want to say, "You and I have the same problem." It's okay for you to say, "I used to have your problem."
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm not in the hole anymore. If we're both in the hole, we're screwed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like if I go to a nutritionist and say I need to lose 30 pounds and she says, "Yeah, me too," I'm at the wrong freaking nutritionist.
It's like going to the doctor that's 100 pounds overweight.
That's
you know?
exactly it. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like you're supposed to be
true.
not in the hole with me.
Yeah.
So, you know, the problem is, if you ever worry about money, the E is we know how that feels. The A is the product associated as the solution. So the A is download the YNAB app. The C, how I can change your life, is and we'll help you get good with money. And the E is so that you'll never worry about money again.
The end result.
Those 5 sound bites effectively invite customers into a story in which they use the YNAB app to get good with money and never worry about money again. All of a sudden, their product makes sense because it helps me solve a problem.
Yeah.
So I would anticipate, and they used one of those sound bites. We just met a couple weeks ago, but they used one of those sound bites already in a social media campaign and saw 400x larger result on that social media post than they'd ever seen.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
So
yeah.
the words that you're using will determine whether or not your business succeeds regardless of how good your product
And
is.
it's how you use those words, right? How you come across, like the E part, you have to actually, if you're talking, your tone has to sound like empathetic, right? To did that, right? Has to sound
Yeah,
that
you
way.
just have to illustrate that you care. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a guy, I'm dating myself, but there's a guy named Bill Clinton, and he ran for president, and he got elected because he said, "I feel your pain." That was
Right?
it.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah, empathy.
Yeah, empathy.
Yeah.
And he was competing against George H.W. Bush, who was trying to sound smart,
Yeah,
which is a mistake in sales.
true. Well, you overeducate, right? So I'm not really into politics, but I like to watch how politicians like
Yeah,
communicate
they're interesting to
communicate their
study.
message, right? So like in the primary that you're talking about on the Republican side, they also had like Rand Paul, which a lot of people like his views
Yeah.
or whatever. But when he was up on the debate, he was talking about like quantitative easing and like the Federal Reserve policy and fiscal policy, and really, really educated. The problem is 99% of the people listening to that, it goes in one ear out the other because it's not something they can identify with. It's like over their head,
Yeah.
whereas like somebody like Trump just made it more simple, build the wall.
Well, here's a good
those type of
illustration.
things.
It'll tell you something. Jeb Bush wrote a book on immigration, a book.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote a book on education.
Mm.
He got beat by a soundbite.
Yeah.
Like the guy knows what he's talking about. He wrote a book on it, and he got beat by Build a Wall. Why?
Yeah.
Because people understand Build a Wall, and they didn't read the book.
Yeah. And I see a lot of salespeople and companies do that. Like if you're selling solar or like you're a solar company and you're like, hey, how much do you pay per kilowatt? Well, does the average homeowner really know what a
even know
kilowatt
what a
is?
kilowatt is,
They don't
yeah.
understand what it is. So a lot of times we use these big words that we use in our industry and we think that the prospect is going to understand what we mean, but it's over their head, or they don't understand it, which leads to uncertainty, which leads to objections, which leads to them not buying.
That's right.
Simplifying the message.
Yeah. I mean, if I were selling that, I'd walk up and I'd say, a house this size, you're probably spending about $4,000 a year on electricity. I can save you about half that. That's it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, you
The
got to
hook.
know why people are buying what
How
they're
do you,
buying.
so in your storytelling brand, so Sigmund Freud says it best. He says, people do who they believe they are.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, I'm just paraphrasing what he said. People make their decisions based on the identity of the person who they believe they are. So how do you, like in marketing or story, like we talk a lot about this in sales, like how to take them from whoever they are and build them into the identity of the person who becomes a buyer. How do you guys do that, like in storytelling? Like maybe walk us through, how do you start to change somebody's identity into somebody who you want them
Well,
to
you
be?
offer them an aspirational identity.
Okay, tell us about that.
So the final E in the P.E.A.C.E framework is end result. And you'll notice that the soundbite I said was, and you'll never worry about money again. Another one is, we'll help you get good with money. In fact, YNAB's new tagline, we wrote it together, is called Get Good with Money. And so somebody who is good with money would be the aspirational identity that YNAB actually offers.
Okay.
So you think they're selling an app, but they're not selling an app. They're selling an identity.
Yeah, you're selling the results of what the app does, or the identity of the person who uses the app. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you're also selling a transformation.
Yeah.
Because you're bad with money, but I'm going to make you good with money.
Yeah. So think about that. Whatever your business, so everybody listening, watching, here live at home, whatever, like think about, like, I always say you're not selling the thing, you're selling the results of what the thing does.
Yeah.
And I think most salespeople don't realize that. Like they over talk, right? Like the industries I sold in as a salesperson, like I didn't really understand how the thing really worked. I didn't need to. I just knew the results. I just knew like the problems it solved. I knew the consequences of what happens if they didn't buy, like if they didn't have it. And I knew how the thing actually solved it.
And that's probably why you were so good as a salesperson.
Yeah. So like I'm just selling the results of what the thing does.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the outcomes. So think about, what is the result of what you sell? Like if you're a marketing agency, you're not selling leads, you're not selling branding, you're selling the results of what the leads and branding does, which is to grow their revenue, make them more profitable, and scale their company. That's what you're selling, right?
Yeah.
If you're selling life insurance, you're not selling a policy, you're selling the results of, when one spouse dies and the rest of the family is financially protected.
And you're selling the identity of a person who protects their family.
Exactly.
Do you want to be the sort of person who protects your family? You want to be the sort of person who puts your family out there where they could be in danger?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so we're going to go into identities. Give us an example of another bad story brand that you had to like turn around, like one of the worst ones. besides Jeb's?
Well, I don't want to throw people under the bus.
You don't have to say the name.
Yeah. Well, I'd almost have to like talk about the product. So I'm trying to figure out how to disguise.
Maybe one a long time ago that maybe we wouldn't know as much about. I don't know.
Well, I'll give you an example of a great one that, I'll give you an example of 3 words that will and may have already made somebody $100 million. So a brand came to me called Spectrum Brands. They have Remington shavers,
Sure. Okay.
and Tetris, which is a fish food.
Okay. That's
So
interesting.
Tetris, which is a sub brand of Spectrum Brands, I met them in Florida, and they said, "Look, we we sell about $100 million worth of aquariums, fish tanks. We dominate PetSmart, Petco, all this kind of stuff. If you buy anything that's related to aquariums, you bought it from us."
Okay.
Well, that's pretty cool. They said, "Well, here's our problem. Only hobbyists buy aquariums. We are missing out on the family market, and almost everybody who walks into a pet store is somebody who has a family. So we can't get them to buy from us."
Okay.
And so, we talked about it. And these are Oxford educated folks.
Yeah.
They've flown over from the UK. These are very, very smart people.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Alvin Community College, home of the Fighting Dolphins. So why the hell am I in
The
this
Fighting
room?
Dogs, I love that.
But I'd been in London for a month with my family just before that. And I noticed that my daughter, every time we left the building that we were living in, loved the aquarium. She would make us stop. She's 3 years old, and we'd have to find Nemo. And Emmeline and I kind of had this bonding, over this aquarium. And so I literally thought, kids love aquariums. And I was like, oh, that's it.
That's right.
Kids love aquariums.
Yeah.
That's it. And so I said, okay, well, here's what you're going to do. You're going to put kids love aquariums on everything. You're going to put it on the fish food. You're going to put it on the little plastic plant.
So let me guess, the parents start to relive their childhood, A, and B, they start to almost feel like guilty that they don't have that for their child because every kid loves aquariums. There's some
I'm sure there's some psychological reasons,
For sure.
but if you said to me, like literally, I had this challenge today. I FaceTimed my 4-year-old daughter before I walked into this room, and I always come back with some sort of gift. And for a long time, it was stuffed animals, but we got to stop because we got like 1 million stuffed animals. So my wife is like, just buy
Join
a
the
T-shirt,
crowd,
get a mint, get
Yeah.
something, whatever. Stop bringing stuff home.
Yeah, I get it.
But anyway, if you said to me, oh, kids love these, I would thank you. That's it. I'm putting it in my backpack. I'm just looking for something that a kid loves.
True. Yeah.
Well, why not just say it?
Yeah.
Well, kids love this.
Every kid loves this.
They were like, well, Don, that's interesting. We could maybe test that phrase. And I'm like, no, don't test it. Just put it on. Just trust me.
Yeah.
Put it on the aquarium and you'll sell aquariums.
Yeah.
If you say you have the best cheeseburger in Phoenix, you're going to sell a lot more of those cheeseburgers. Just don't you're overthinking it. You're trying to be sophisticated. You're trying to be artistic. You're trying to be clever. Stop. Be clear. Be really, really clear. That's where the money is. And so I didn't think they were going to do it. So I said in front of their CEO, I said, will you just promise me that you will test this in a test market?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, man, our boss read this guy's book and he's a dumbass. And, I'm just like, no, just do it.
Yeah.
And so CEO calls me 2 months later and says, hey, can I come to Nashville? I want to give you the results of this test. And I said, why don't you just give me the results of the test? He goes, I just want to come to Nashville. I want to do it in person. I'm like, well, this can either be really good or really bad.
Yeah.
So he a few days later, he comes in my office and we sit and he's making small talk. And I'm like, dude, what are
happened?
the results of the test?
Yeah.
He said, Don, 99% increase in sales.
Yeah. That's
And
crazy.
all we
That
did
quick.
was put 3 words
Yeah.
on the products.
Yeah.
Now, if they're 100 million and they see 99% increase in one test market, that's $100 million opportunity there.
Yeah.
So, and you say, okay, well, why? Like, what's the brilliant cycle? And this is what's funny about what I do, is people are trying to figure out the Jungian archetype, Joseph Campbell. And I'm like, no, it's literally just like your wife will love that. That's it. And they're like, okay, I'm looking for something my wife will love. I'll just buy that. Or
valid.
this chocolate tastes really good. I'm very curious. a woman who owns a winery came to me, and she said, we don't have a test on this. She's going to test it. This was just last week.
Mm-hmm.
She has a winery, and she goes, I'm thinking about, I talked to all my customers. Why do you buy my wine? And they all said to me, because it tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay. And she goes, I'm thinking about using the tagline, it tastes good. And I said, how much does your wine cost? And she goes, about $30 a bottle. I said, do it. Because no wine, because it tastes good will never work on a wine snob.
Mm.
But wine snobs don't buy $30
It's more
bottles
general
of
market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am 100% convinced that she will at least double sales.
Crush it. I love
if she
that.
uses that. That's for a specific market. You could not use that in a luxury market. That wouldn't work.
Give us an example of maybe something you'd use more in a luxury market. Just any could be any industry, more luxury.
Luxury markets are tough because it is indirect. When you're selling a luxury item like a Rolex or a BMW or a Mercedes, or something like that, you're mostly selling a status symbol or an identity.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you need to be a little bit more artistic.
I've got one for a Rolls Royce. How do you want to be viewed?
How do you want to be viewed is interesting, but that might actually be too
long,
direct. It might actually be too direct for Rolls Royce, because somebody in that category wants to pretend that they don't care how they're viewed.
But they do deep down inside.
They do. But you can never say it directly. You could never say, do you believe that you are better than most people?
Oh,
and
for sure.
Show them?
But I'm just saying, like,
but
in
that's
a commercial.
Exactly what they want. That's exactly what they want. But
Yeah.
you can't say it because now you're asking them
Yeah.
to confess a character flaw.
Oh, you wouldn't ask them in a sales situation, but like a tagline could be that, where they just ask it in their brain. Like, how do I want to be viewed? You wouldn't ask it in a sales situation because they're never going to tell you the truth.
I've got a client now, Oswald's Mill Audio. OMA makes the best hi-fi equipment in the world, without question. They don't use any digital technology. It's all tube amps and technology that came out of the 20s and 30s in movie theaters. And there are two speakers that they're kind of known for, called the AC-1s, and those speakers cost $269,000. That's what it would cost you to bring those speakers into your house. The whole system itself is going to be north of $500,000. And they do okay business, but Jonathan came to me and said, we don't think we're reaching our potential, and can we talk? And at that point, it's kind of a hard thing, because you can't say these are the best speakers in the world. That's subjective, although you might be able to.
Because everybody says that. Everybody says that.
Yeah. So what we came up with was the tagline, made without compromise. And so what Jonathan can actually do is, in his YouTube videos, he can actually take a look at this speaker or this tube amp or whatever, and he can say, here are the 8 ways that we made this without compromise.
So it causes there to be a gap in their mind about what they might have, how it has been compromised.
Well, if you want the ultimate driving machine, you're going to buy a BMW. If you want a speaker in which the maker's compromised on absolutely nothing, you have one choice. And by the way, anything else you buy is made with compromise.
Yeah, so you seed a doubt in their mind about anything else they could buy is compromised.
Well, a person who buys a luxury item probably only wants the best. And so made without compromise is a passive way of saying that this is the absolute best.
Because the luxury market, it's going to be more about like the status you talked about. So it's more about that person that buys that type of vehicle has, they want to be seen as significant, as somebody. So their fear is not being viewed as significant. So you play into that fear that drives that emotion to purchase.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the luxury markets are a little bit tough. I know that I bought a Rolex because I bought it right when my daughter was born, and I had it engraved on the back, 3 words that were my commitment to her. And I bought it for her to give to her on her wedding day so that she could give it to her husband. And then I would talk to her husband and turn it over and say, this is how I loved her, and this is how I expect you to love her.
Mm.
And I want you to wear this watch. You see, that's why I bought the Rolex, because it was like, this can't be a Timex.
Mm-hmm.
This needs to be a thing that you and I've worn this since she was born,
Mm-hmm.
and you and I are going to make an agreement that you're going to take care of her. If you don't, I want you to bring her back to me and give me the watch too, because this is an agreement we are making, and it's a pact that 25, 27 years ago, I've prayed for you every day.
Yeah.
But
You're
this
giving
is this is how this woman should be treated.
Yeah.
And so there's different reasons we do things like that. It's not just like I want to be viewed, or I don't actually wear it that much. But you know, there's different reasons that you would do things. But
Sure.
Regardless,
Sometimes it's tradition. It just depends on what it is.
Yeah,
like especially the
yeah.
Rolex. It's tradition. It's how they want to be viewed.
yeah, it's an heirloom.
It's an heirloom. It
It's
depends on if they
whatever.
come from old money, which is more of an heirloom or tradition. If they're coming from like brand new money, they want to show off like status. So it depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So like if I had that different luxury brand, I might, and I want to compete against those like Rolex and stuff, I would maybe make a tagline like, because you're different. And like some type of, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, where they start to think like, I don't want the Rolex, like all those people that, you know, want a Rolex. Like, I'm different. When I made my money, I'm different. I want something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, different way to view it.
Yeah.
You're giving me so many good ideas. I love this. We got to work together. Let's talk about your AI. So you've got StoryBrand.ai. How do you see AI like really enhancing a company's ability to get like their message out there, like the right story?
I mean, I created StoryBrand.ai because ChatGPT is, and Claude and these sorts of things, they didn't understand my framework, and
Of
so
course, yeah.
I took OpenAI and I wrote 110 single-space pages of rules. Like if you use StoryBrand.ai to come up with your sound bites, it will not let you play the hero.
Yeah.
It will only play the guide.
Yeah, because
it will not speak
ChatGPT would be pulling from other sources that talk about similar stuff to you. It doesn't just pull your stuff. That's the difference with ChatGPT. That's why you'll never, like, if anybody went to like, what would Jeremy say for this sales situation? It's going to pull from other things, other people as well, what they say that's somewhat similar. That's the difference.
Yes.
Plus, they don't have a license for your paid stuff. They're probably just seeing some of your free stuff. It's pulling like free stuff.
Yeah, it's usually not good. I mean, I use AI a lot as a writer. I use it a great deal.
Sure.
But I actually enter more into the prompts than I would if I would have just wrote it myself. You know,
right.
so you have to sit down and talk to this thing like a 5-year-old and just say, here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to think like this. I want you to think like this. I want you to. And I've found it to be a significantly great writing partner. And so most people aren't going to write those prompts.
Sure.
And so StoryBrand.ai is just an application that I created that helps them do that. But it will literally wireframe your website. StoryBrand.ai for free. You can actually put your domain name in there, and it will tell you everything that's wrong with your website. It will tell you where you're being elusive.
So do you have a version of that, the paid membership version that people can jump into?
Yeah. There's several free tools. That's one of them. Everything is free for 7 days, and then after that, it's like $50 a month.
No, that's good. Love that. Yeah. I'd go to everybody watching, listening, like you want to start like figuring out the stuff where you're not guessing it, you know, because I always say a book is like an introduction to what is possible.
Right.
Like no one masters anything from a book. You know, like reading a couple books, you're not going to master storytelling, right? It just gives you that introduction. So I would opt into that like pretty quick to, you know, stop winging it and like figuring out this guy's brain over here.
Yeah. Well, hopefully my brain is, and we're actually adding to StoryBrand.ai in about 6 weeks, me. So you can literally, I will just talk to you. Like they're recording me in a situation, and you can just say, Don, here's my tagline. What do you think? And something that looks like me,
That your
sadly,
avatar comes up.
Matthew McConaughey was not available, but you can. I will tell you what's wrong with you.
I love that. Okay, I got a couple more questions here. So somebody listening, watching right now who knows their marketing isn't working, what's, besides like the tagline, what's one of the simplest things they can do to like get on the right path?
Okay, well, there's several. Let me just go through some of them.
Okay.
Stop making yourself the hero of the story.
Yes, got that.
Okay, let me give you an example. I have a friend who's an artist. He's an extremely good songwriter. I mean, really good. Like Rolling Stones loves him. But he doesn't sell a lot of records because he won't participate in the game that you have to play in Nashville, Tennessee in order to be a recording artist. And it's a game. I mean,
Everything's a game.
It's a game. And he just won't do it. And so he'll send out an email, though, and he'll say something like, hey, I'm doing these house concerts, and here's how it works. You know, you pay me $5,000, and I give you an album and a free hat, and you invite 50 friends over. And the reason I'm doing this is I don't like the game, and I don't want to play the game that they make me play. I'm not going to put my music on Spotify and blah, 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 blah. You know, so I called him, and I said, hey, you're making yourself the hero in this email. You're trying to get me to pay you $5,000 to host you in my home for a house concert. So let's rewrite this email and let's make it about the customer, not about you. And the email needs to say, hey, I noticed something. It's really hard to get all your friends together and have a meaningful experience. Well, now I just made the customer the hero, and the product that I'm about to sell you solves your problem.
The guy throwing
it doesn't
the
have
rope
anything
down.
to do with the music industry.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with my story and my struggle and the fact that I'm not making enough.
Yeah.
I'm not positioning myself as the hero trying to win. You're the hero, and I'm going to help you win. And you're going to have 50 friends come over. It's going to be a night that nobody ever forgets. They're going to associate it with you. You're going to batch all these relationships that you touch base with all 50 people in one night. You're going to give them a great gift. They're going to love you. They're going to adore you. And I want to facilitate that for you. Let me do it. I'll do a concert for you. That's a much better pitch.
And what happened?
He didn't do it.
He didn't do it.
No,
Wow.
he didn't do it.
Interesting.
It which drives me crazy, but he didn't do it. And let me give you another example. Let's say you're at a cocktail party and you meet two people who do the exact same thing. One of them, you say, what do you do? And they say, well, I'm an at-home chef. I come to your house and cook. And you go, that's interesting. Where'd you go to culinary school? What's your favorite restaurants in town? You're going to make small talk. You ever cooked for anybody famous? You're going to make small talk. An hour later, you talk to somebody, same product, same price, same quality. You say, what do you do? And they say, well, you know, most families don't eat together anymore. And when they do, they don't eat healthy. I'm an at-home chef. I come to your house and cook.
Yeah. So you listed
Who's
a
going to
problem.
do more business, Chef 1 or Chef 2?
Chef 2.
Chef 2 is
Because
going to do all
Chef
the
1
business.
sounds like all the other chefs. It's like asking a real estate agent, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I'm a real estate agent. It means nothing. You just categorize yourself with all the other real estate agents they've ever met.
That's
There's
right.
nothing special. But if you listed a problem, well, what I do is how a lot of people, and you list the problem or whatever, and then what I do is that's how you solve it, type of thing.
The reality
It's
is,
that formula.
the reason that you want to start with the problem, if somebody asks what you do, the reason that you want to start with the problem is we value people, products, ideas. We value people, products, and ideas that solve problems.
Yeah.
And we do not value people, products, and ideas that don't. I realize that's transactional. It's kind of sad. God loves you, by the way, unconditionally, but he's the only one. He is. Everybody else loves you conditionally, including your spouse. Maybe the only unconditional love that I have for another human being is probably my daughter.
Sure. Yeah.
And
I
that's
agree
a
on
sort of spiritual connection that's really very beautiful.
Mhm.
But even my wife, I will love her till I die,
Sure.
all that kind of stuff. But you know what? I love her because she's a woman. Somebody said, Don, do you love your wife unconditionally? I said, absolutely. She goes, well, would you love her if she was a man? No.
Probably not.
Well, then you love her conditionally.
It's true.
If every morning she clawed you in the face, I'm like, it's probably not going to last.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's conditional. And so if you want to be respected and admired and loved, meet the conditions and meet them exceptionally well and watch what happens. And what I mean by that is really the things that we value and the people that we value in life have a common characteristic. They are survival assets. The human brain is designed and obsessed with survival, obsessed. Every product you've ever bought can be associated with your survival. You did it to enhance your survival. Every friend that you have is a survival asset. And when that person stops being a survival asset, you distance yourself.
True.
So we are constantly looking for people and friends and things and tribes and communities and products that will help us survive. So if you want to sell more of something, or if you want to be respected, be a survival asset. I was studying all of this. I met my wife when I worked in the Obama White House. I was on a task force, and I'd go to DC and I'd stay in this bed and breakfast. I walked into this bed and breakfast that a friend put me up at, and it was this bed and breakfast for people who are working in the federal government. It was a weird bed and breakfast. And I walked in, and there is this woman, and she's stunning.
Yeah.
And I got nervous. I got clammy, and she introduced herself. Her name is Betsy. And I just thought that and then, she sat across from me at breakfast, and we had a conversation. And I just remember thinking, I would love to date this woman. And it seemed like she had a boyfriend, and so I didn't want to do anything inappropriate. So we kept in touch for about 2 years. And during that 2 years, I'm studying StoryBrand. I'm writing the StoryBrand book. I'm studying this stuff. And I just kept thinking about her. And, we would email once a month or once every 2 months. And it was always very professional. And,
This was before texting?
It was before texting.
Okay. I'm like, whoa, email.
Texting?
Wow.
We
That's
might
amazing.
have texted. I can't remember. But she would come to Portland sometimes for a wedding or some reason. And every time I saw her and we got together for lunch or whatever, we had a friendship. But I always hated it because I would get this crush again on her, and didn't feel like there was anything. She was just way out of my league. Not just pretty, she's so smart and so stable and balanced and all that kind of stuff. So I was going back to DC on a movie tour. We'd made our movie, and it was in theaters, and we were doing press junkets and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to call her. I don't want to see her because it hurts. It just hurts too bad. She called me and said, hey, I saw you're coming to DC. Some friends want to get together. And I'm like, okay, well, this sounds good. So we get together. This story is going somewhere. I'm sitting next to Betsy.
He's losing his framework.
I'm about to use my framework in a completely different application. And we're talking, and everything's great. And I didn't realize she had this signal. She's going to kick her friends under the table to get them to leave. And she did it. She was like, this is going well. So she goes over to the side of the table. All the guys that I'm traveling with, the director, the cinematographer, they're sitting at an adjacent table, and they're watching this happen.
Yeah.
And I'd had a couple drinks, and she said, I said, Betsy, are you in a relationship? Are you seeing anybody? And she said, yes, sort of. I've been in a relationship for 3 years, and he's doing a lot of work in Africa, and and I said, well, is it serious? She goes, I mean, I wish it was serious. And I go, well, that sounds sad. Like what? Like you wish it was serious? Like it seems like 3 years. Like maybe he should have proposed by now. Yeah. And she goes, yeah, I kind of think so. And I was like, there's my opportunity. Position myself as the solution to a problem.
The guide. Yeah.
It's exactly it.
The guide.
And so I said, you know what? I've always wanted to date you. And there's no possible way I would date you for 3 years without putting a ring on your finger. I just think you deserve better than that. And then I said, in 30 days, I'm going to call you, and I'm going to ask you on a date. And if you have a boyfriend, it's going to be really awkward, right? And so it'd be nice if we could just let him go.
Let him go. I love that, yeah.
30 days later, well, she went home that night, and she went to her girlfriends and said, you would not believe what Donald Miller did over dinner.
Wow.
And she said, he told me to break up with my boyfriend because he won't, he's not. And her girlfriends looked at her and said, do it. Break up with him. We've been trying to tell you this for a long time. So she broke up with him. And 30 days later, I called her and said, yeah, I told you I'd call you. I know this is weird, but I'd love to take you on a date if you don't have a boyfriend. She goes, well, I don't have a boyfriend.
There you go.
Now we're married. We've got a kid, and we live in Nashville, and it's great.
The rest is, the guide. I love that. Got a couple rapid fire questions. What's a book outside your own that completely changed how you think about business?
How I think about business?
Yeah, a book that completely changed the way you thought about business.
Oh,
just a book outside your own.
I mean, outside my own. This is crazy because it's not a business book, but Blake Snyder's Save the Cat.
Save the Cat.
Save the Cat is
Save
the
the
name of a
Cat.
book about how to write a screenplay.
Okay.
And I applied all those principles to create StoryBrand
I love
Framework.
it. What's one decision you made that scared you but completely changed the game for you?
Scared me, but changed the
everything for you.
game.
Yep.
That is a great question. And are you talking about business or life?
Just life, business, doesn't matter. Decision you were like, I'm not sure I should do that, and you made the decision, and it was one of the best decisions.
I had a book on the New York Times for 42 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The money that I made from that book, I used to pay off a really, really nice bachelor penthouse apartment in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
I sold it because I was going to buy Richard Bach's house, who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It came up on the market, and I was going to buy his house. I sold it, had the money, and right before I bought his house, somebody else bought it. So I'm sitting on my life savings. Mm-hmm. Now, I had never made more than $15,000 a year until I was 30. Mm-hmm. So, and my mother never made more than $20,000 a year. Sure. So we stood in line for government cheese. I'd never had money. I was absolutely convinced that, well, here's what happened. I put the money into an investment to hold it for 6 months, mm-hmm. my entire life savings, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, mm-hmm. and lost it one Monday morning. Mm. I had nothing. Mm-hmm. Betsy and I had just started dating mm-hmm. when this happened. So this is a bad deal.
Right.
Especially for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I cried myself to sleep. I told myself, you had one shot and you blew it. Mm. You've never had money. You paid off your house. You did the right thing. I lost it all. Mm-hmm. And so the decision that I made was, with lots of prayer and very thankful to God for this, I decided that losing all my money would be the greatest thing that has ever happened to me, and it would be the reason that I ended up extremely wealthy.
That fear of loss.
And I decided that, and I fought. Then there was an angel and a devil mm-hmm. for a long time. Mm-hmm. I fired my entire management team. Mm-hmm. I started a company. I wrote Building a Story Brand, and 8 years later had made $100 million. And today, mm-hmm. Betsy and I give away, mm-hmm. we make it a principle, we give away more money every year than I lost on that day.
Yeah, that loss might have not driven you to have the success you had.
It did, but it was also, it was a decision. It was a decision to say, I'm going to choose not to be a victim here, and I'm going to choose to learn from this. It's a very difficult decision, but I was able to do it.
It's all how you react. I love that. What's the number one thing most businesses get wrong?
Their messaging.
Their messaging, besides the messaging.
Yeah. Rewind this podcast, everything that I talked about.
Yeah.
They have a great product, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
The right way.
Best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received in multiple categories. But the one on writing was, when all else fails, be entertaining.
Love that.
Yep.
Favorite brand campaign you've ever seen?
That's a great question. Favorite brand campaign I have ever seen? Ooh. I'm so critical.
That's the artist.
That I don't know that I've ever seen a good one. I've never seen one that I couldn't improve.
One that was closer to really, really good. One that was close to what you would do.
The problem is big brands can be elusive and artistic because we know what a Coca-Cola is. We know what a Ford is. We know mm-hmm. what a Rolex is. Small businesses cannot do that. Mm-hmm. So you're asking me to glorify a brand campaign that almost nobody listening can duplicate.
Sure.
And if you do, you'll go bankrupt.
Go back to when it first started, those brands.
I would say that Ford Lincoln called really, really early on before I even had a book, I was working on the framework. And they said, Lincoln is going to go out of business. Hmm. And they said, we'd just love to hear your perspective because we're going to make one last ditch effort to keep it alive. And I said, how old is the person who buys a Lincoln? Because I'm thinking this is I said, is it an older man? They said, yes, it's an older man. And I said, okay, well, here's what I would do. I would sell Lincoln cars, Lincoln automobiles, the exact way you sell Viagra.
Interesting.
I would make it symbolic of fertility, youth, and strength, which is what is diminishing in your target market. And a year later, Matthew McConaughey is rubbing his hands together in front of a bull in the middle of a.
Oh, that's so true.
And Lincoln is alive today.
I like that. All right, clear message or bold risk? Which do you choose?
Clear message.
Why?
Because clear message is going to make you money.
That's right. What's something?
I mean, certainly take bold risks. Yeah, I would do both, but clear message first.
Wins. What's something people would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I don't know. I'm too close to myself to know.
If you really thought about it, what's something to be surprised? Like, wow, I didn't even know that about Donald.
I have over 100 classic poems memorized.
Really? Okay. Nobody knew that.
I don't think I've ever talked about that.
There you go. That's part of the story. So I want to ask you this question. Last question. You spent your life helping others tell stories. When you think about your life and legacy, what story do you hope people will tell about you?
I hope that first of all, I hope that my daughter says that I hope that my daughter someday, I don't care if she does, but I hope that she believes that she's beautiful and valuable and worth paying attention to because her father modeled that and taught her that at an early age, because I think that saves a young woman from an enormous amount of pain.
That's beautiful.
And and she will know that this man is not worth my time by the way she is treated. I hope my wife feels the same way, that these two women who have made my life so great know that they are worth sacrificing for, worth protecting, worth providing for, and incredible human beings. That's more important to me than anything else. Everybody else, I hope they say that Don Miller was a survival asset to me, that because of him, I was able to grow a business and I was able to put my kids through college. And because of him, I called him one night when my marriage was on the rocks, and he came over and we sat and we talked about it. And he was the guy to go to when I was in a hole, and he would help me out. And that, if I can do that with my life, I think it's a life well lived.
Powerful. Where can they go to learn more about what you do?
StoryBrand.com is where my business is, and you can learn all about StoryBrand at StoryBrand.com. StoryBrand.ai is where I'll write your sound bites for you.
Okay.
And then Donald Miller on Instagram is where you see pictures of my family and our dogs and our cats.
Love it. We'll the other side of the story. We'll put your handle on there. All right, everybody give it up for Mr. Miller. Well done.
Thank you.